By the gods, I'm so annoyed we got interrupted and broken up by my iPhone storage again. So hopefully I've rectified that situation, and I apologise for the interruption and having to split into two separate videos. It's so bloody frustrating, especially as I was just getting into the flow, right? But anyway, we continue on with the readings of the 11th of March 2024. It is now 7:16 p.m. and we were reading from 11th of March 2021 when I was talking about having to, my glasses having steamed up and being gifted the concession fee of $10 instead of $15, which I was grateful for since I live in constant state of financial difficulty and flux. And hopefully that changes at some stage in the future, because I'm a bit frickin' sick of that after 29 years, I can assure you. But anyway, I have people in my life fighting very hard for my better health. My beautiful worthy psychiatrist even paying for me to see a private urologist last year, and now we're moving on to the stage where I'm about to have another test, the urodynamics test, and from that to have the Botox. And I am grateful at all the beautiful financial, fiscal, magical, spiritual, physical, agape love flow to me of beautiful souls determined to see me regain some measure of health, better health, and find my equilibrium and find my one true loving partner one day and find my prosperity one day too. I can see so many souls lighting up for me, literally fighting not just with energy but with their own money, sometimes sponsoring me along a little bit, wanting to see me win at long last, even at this late phase of my life at almost 59. So in 1 month and 1 day I'll be 59 years old, people. So I'm grateful for the miracle of you, and I'm also grateful for the miracle of me for riding out this long decades of horror, and I'm grateful for the miracle wrested by the gods for providing us these corporeal bodies and these souls and this beautiful planet with which to live out our days on earth allotted to us. I'm grateful for all of it, although some of the things that happened to me over the years weren't actually gratifying or kind or noble or decent, but I'm coming out of that long horror, and I can only pray to the gods that the light is at the end of the tunnel and it's not another train wanting to mow me down, but a beautiful light of collective consciousness and sweetness and kindness for the rest of my days here on earth. To my angels, to the Holy One in all manifestations, and to my beautiful soulful friends and health professionals who are fighting hard for me. I'm afraid of having that surgery, but I do appreciate what you're trying to do for me, which is to gift me longer continuance on planet Earth. So I love you. I love what you're trying to do for me, and I honour it. I might grumble a bit, but that's just my old traumas and mistrust. And after the last 4 years with the COVID epoch, there's a lot to fucking mistrust, especially the way I was treated in other public hospitals. So you have to kind of forgive me my quite reasonable circumspection at times. But I know your hearts and your intentions are honourable. I just don't know how I'm going to be going undertaking regular surgeries with general anaesthesia. It is a risk. But then everything's a risk. Sitting here talking to you right now is a risk if some untoward thing happened, like a meteor hit me, or I got electrocuted, or something caught on fire. It's like, let's be real here. We have to live each day and embrace every moment of every day, because life is a miracle and a great gift. Choose life, people, no matter what. But it's good to be a little bit circumspect and suspicious at times. It's the desire to live safely and fully and vibrantly with lots of love surrounding us. Anyway, enough of that. I continue on. 2021. The room was full. This is after I'd paid for my ticket. The room was full, so I quickly grabbed a seat and almost fell into it as the edge of it was curved. Ouch! So my tuchus just caught the edge of the seat and I fell, which was also embarrassing because people were watching me because I arrived a little bit late. So, oi gewalt, The Tanya, always a klutz. I was consumed by an anxiety-driven hot flush and quite a bit of embarrassment after having steamed up my glasses, arrived late, and then fell into the seat like an idiot. So I had to dig inside my bag for my fan. Gah. I'm so nervous. It's hard for me to go to new things like lectures or events. I walk in and I look like a boss usually, and people have no idea that inside I'm actually internally berserk. I usually hide it well, but for some reason that evening I was in a bit of a state and I wasn't hiding my usual anxiety very well. The lecture was called Coincidences in Literature and was about how writers utilise coincidences to enrapture their audience. The lecturer kept staring at me, which I found a tad unsettling. I thought to myself, I must be in his focal point, and tried to ignore it. But I actually wasn't. His focal point would have been somewhere in the middle in front of where he was standing speaking, and I was actually way over at the end of the row of seats on the right. And so it was quite pointed that he stared at me. But then after a while, it makes sense, and I'll tell you why he was staring at me, people of Earth. He was a PhD in philosophy and spoke eloquently. I really enjoyed the lecture. Halfway in, he spoke about Dostoevsky, the Komosarov brothers, and then Boris Pasternak, the author of Dr. Zhivago, which, by the way, Dr. Zhivago is one of my most favourite movies growing up as a child and a teenager. I absolutely love that movie, and it speaks to me on multifarious levels, and so it was amazing that got mentioned. He mentioned that his parents had been born in Shanghai, having escaped communist Russia in the revolution. White Russians, I thought to myself, White Russians were deemed to be aristocracy by the communists, so they were literally often murdered or literally chased out of Russia as refugees. So this in part explained why he had stared at me so frequently. My Slavic, albeit Polish, features. Delightful. Very often when I meet Russian people, I used to meet Russian people at the casino, or many, many moons ago when I was a teenage girl coming home from Wellington Girls College, walking down through the city, Wellington being a harbour port, we would get many Russian ships come through, and the Russian sailors, both males and females, would approach me and immediately, very excitedly, start speaking to me in Russian because I look Russian. I look like someone from home. And then I would have to stand there. I'd be about 14, 15 years old, and I'd be like, what's happening here? I'd be like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Russian. And they'd be like, but you look so Russian. And I'd be really confused. And then when I when I migrated here to Brisbane, it was during Expo 88 with my husband and my little babies. Crystal was 3.5 or 3 3/4, something like that. And, she must have been 3.5. Jasmine was 14 months. So anyway, and I'm pushing them in the pram, and we got to the Russian pavilion, and you could have dropped a pin in the place. And the staff behind that were, manning behind the counters just all turned and looked at me. And again, I realised by then what was going on, because I was accustomed to have this happen with the Russian, sailors, seamen and seawomen, the Russian naval personnel or fishing fleet personnel. So I kind of had a chuckle to myself. And when I got to the counter, the man behind the counter said to me, "Are you Russian?" I said, "No, Polish ancestry." And I said, "But my mother's actually German." He says, "My God, you look so Russian." And then he looked at my little Crystal, who was, 3.5, and looked at my husband too. And he just took a shine to me, the man, and he produced this beautiful fairy story book that had a flaw. It had been printed with the book had been placed in the book in the front, the hardcover upside down, which didn't worry me. He says, "I want to give this to you as a gift." He said, "Because you look so Russian." And I said, "Oh, no, that's not necessary." He said, yes, for you, for you and for your little girl." And it was actually quite delightful, so I accepted the gift. And every night I would go home and read my children, from that book, beautiful Russian folk fairy tales. So it was indeed a beautiful gift from a random stranger right at Expo 88. So I know if I ever went to Poland or Russia for a holiday, I would fit right in, and I'd be completely accepted. By the way, they'd think I was one of, a country woman because of my Slavic face, which I have no control over how I look. And the other funny story about that was my half-sister, who wasn't very nice to my mother and I, let's face it. When she went to visit Poland, I think it was before I migrated here in 88, so she must have gone in 86 or 87. She came back from Poland, and I had asked her to bring me a beautiful embroidered, gypsy shawl, because in Eastern Europe and Poland they do the most beautiful embroideries. And anyway, she came with this little watch. It wasn't at all what I'd asked for, but I was still appreciative of her gifting me this little plastic watch. And she said to me, "I've had a most awful time in Poland. I absolutely hated it. It was ghastly." Ghastly was one of her favourite expressions. I said, "Why was it ghastly, Angela?" She said, "Everywhere I went, every street corner, every tiny little cobbled streets that were very narrow and tiny and uncomfortable to walk on with my high-heeled shoes." She said, "I'd walk and I'd turn a corner and there'd be the image of you and our mother walking towards me." And she said, "It was just so bloody triggering. Everywhere I went, there was you and Gisela." And I said to her, "Well, duh, as in duh, but duh. What do you expect? It's Poland. It's it's our bloodlines. It's where we come from originally. My mother's grandmother." And she said, Yes, but it was awful and I hated it. I couldn't wait to get out of there. It was just so awful. And I went, oh, well, that's nice because now you have to see the real thing too. She was like, ugh, you know. Anyway, so she didn't. And the even funnier thing is my sister looks a lot like me. So she's got a pointier nose and a much higher French-shaped bosom because her ancestors were French Huguenot way back when. But the face is basically the same as ours. Her father was born in Pomerania, which was part of Poland at one time. So she's projecting all this hate onto my mother and I for looking Polish when she herself was Polish on both sides of her family tree. So can we say hypocrite? Much, but hello, projection. But anyway, I continue on, but I just wanted to share that story because it's quite comical how this Russian man, white Russian, of white Russian descent, I forget his actual name, lecturer, PhD in philosophy, could not take his eyes off me. And I certainly wasn't flirting. In fact, I'd made a complete goose of myself falling into my chair and everything. It felt awkward. I was just sitting there minding my own business, absorbing the lecture. Could not keep his eyes off me because of my Slavic Russian-looking face, my Polish face, my German face, but also my English, Irish, Scottish face too. All right, maybe he was looking at me because of the boobs, right? No, I'm joking about the boobs. It was definitely my face. He mentioned other books too, like Flaubert's Parrot, A Transit of Venus, and some title called A Coincidence Something, which eludes me. In the break to get tea and refreshments, they told us the church, St. Mary's, was giving books away. So I greedily went to gather some. Such a typical thing for me to do. I do love good books. I chose The Tattooist of Auschwitz, which I had a strange feeling I had already read, or perhaps seen the movie more likely. Pardon me. Got indigestion from our afternoon tea. There were other men hovering, wanting to choose books, so I quickly grabbed another one called The Huntress and had a wry smirk at the synchronicity and my entitleitis right there. But there were plenty of books, and is it really entitled if I love books and so was one of the first to choose 2 of them? Who can resist free books? Indeed, who can? And I wasn't greedy, I only took 2. I'm a very fair-minded woman. I'm never greedy. Well, that's not true. I'm greedy when there's a smorgasbord and lots of yummy food. I might get a bit greedy then. And I'm greedy when there's lollies and chippies, and I am a bit greedy when it comes to food. When food's on offer, especially if I'm really, really hungry. But usually I'm not a greedy person. Not in other aspects of, of life. Then I went to grab a cup of tea, and 2 women approached me. One was just as colourfully dressed as I. She wore shades of purple and was quite pretty. I think she might have been the lecturer's wife, but I'm not sure. But oddly, she commented that she admired my bracelet. I had my talk on and my leather bracelet. I motioned towards the leather bracelet, but she said, "No, the metal one. It feels powerful." "Where did you get it?" I was astonished that she was feeling into my talk. I replied, "Oh, my Viking talk. Yes, My daughter bought it for me in Glastonbury, and you are correct. That was her intention for me, to own my own power. The woman replied, does it work? Which I actually thought was a tad rude to say that. So I replied cheekily, well, yes, of course. I think you would find my power quite delightful. She and her friend blanched slightly. A typical Tanya faux pas, acting more confident and powerful than I really am, and coming across a tad narcissistic. Fuck, I thought. Fuck, I can't take myself out anywhere. Even more need to form my own social group. And actually, hindsight 2020, there was nothing wrong with what I said. She was questioning as to why I had this power object, and I explained honestly that it was intentionally gifted to me by my daughter, and then questioned whether it worked, try and delegitimize my power, my mana. So it was actually an appropriate answer. I think you would find my power quite delightful. And if she's threatened by that, that's not my monkey, not my circus. I wasn't insinuating anything sexual by that, by the way, but they may have misinterpreted it that way. But women can be really quite jealous, nasty, envious creatures, and I'm well aware of that. But it was a strange thing to approach me and ask me about, kind of a form of social bullying. Why are you wearing that and what does that mean? And it's not something you usually start a conversation with straight away, Odd. It was a tad odd. Perhaps she was the wife and she'd noticed her husband constantly looking at me because of the Slavic face or the boobs or the fact that I was new to their little soiree. I didn't actually go back again after that. That's how much I found it unsettling, them picking at me like vultures at a piece of meat, right? It was a tad inappropriate, especially being a CG Jung group. So I wasn't impressed by that behaviour, by the way. But then I'm very easily unimpressed and decompensated by bullies because I had a lifetime of it, including in my own Jewish community. So as soon as I see that bloodletting kind of spitefulness, especially so early in the piece at my first attendance, I thought, maybe that's not a good space for me to be in at this point in time. And it's a shame because I wanted to start going to more of those lectures and learning more about C.G. Jung and hopefully meeting people that actually had a brain and that I could actually engage with, have conversations with that weren't about how powerful I am or not, as the case may be, for the love of all the gods. Anyway, I continue writing here. A young Pacific Island woman came to sit with me. It turned out she came from Wellington too. She is 24 and has been here 12 years. She was warm and friendly. Her older friend, who was 51, didn't seem to like me much. Oh well. The lecture resumed briefly, but most people had left. The lecturer looked at me again. I wonder, what is it about me that attracts so much attention when I just want to curl up in a ball but force myself out into the world? Still in all, I enjoyed the lecture and probably will attend another one. I had thought about it. I was keeping tabs on their Facebook, events, but I didn't end up going to another one. I could again, I guess. I could just harden the fuck up and not let malfeasant gimps try and intimidate me, which, I do from time to time. I will go out in full femme fatale, blazing bloody glory, and not let them intimidate me, but it's not how I want to live in a chronic state of siege, right? I want to go out and actually enjoy the company of like-minded people and actually have fun. And if I'm going to be in a learning environment, like lectures, actually be included, not targeted and stripped down to bare bones. It's just not cricket, people. But anyway, I continue writing. Still in all, I enjoyed the lecture and probably will attend another one. I said that already. It will be nice to be learning something again, given how I was harried out of university as a teenager by rape threats. Yuck. I'm opening myself up to the idea that I could always go back to study one day, even at this late stage of my life, if only I had the energy and the will and the money to do it. Who knows? Funny that those women should be so drawn by my Viking talk, though. Shared ancestry, curiosity, an attempt to connect with me via flattery, and all jokes and sardonic self-effacement aside, my power is delightful, even if only to the gods. The lecturer made a valid point that if we are not circumspect and a bit humble, that we can get lured by coincidences into thinking that we are on the right path, when really they are false coincidences. So I'm getting interruptions here. It's getting a tad annoying. When really they are false coincidences set by trickster gods that actually cause us to fall off our perch. I nodded sagely. Been there, got the fucking t-shirt. But every day my angels remind me of time slipping under my hobbits' feet. Constant 11 synchronicities and 111 and other numbers too. Sometimes other signs that are just so startling that I have to stop to catch my breath. Like today with going to two restaurants. Well, first was the coffee club and the second was grilled, and in each space being surrounded by wild pigeons. One actually got on my little table at the coffee club and actually sat on the table peering at me, hoping for a chip, but just sat there like it was the most normal thing in the world to sit at the table with me, communing with me. And then, as you saw, I posted the photo of the second pigeon at grilled, pretty much doing the same thing, being loved by wild birds. I'm very blessed indeed. And what are pigeons messengers of after all, but carriers of news and messages, physical and from the spirit world as well. So I'm about to receive a message of some kind, hopefully something heartfelt and loving and inspiring and beautiful. So there is that, my darlings. I've only just realised, by the way, on the hoof, that that's why I was having these personal encounters with these pigeons, right? These wild birds. Something is stirring and shifting inside me. The timelines, the fates. I need only be patient. Allow my tribe to come. Baruch haba. Blessed be he who comes, my true loving partner, hopefully, in the not too distant future. Hopefully he times it perfectly so that my bladder's sorted and I can actually have a sexual partner in my life for the long term, and we can both sleep in each other's arms, in our bed, and be happy little cozy little love bunnies for the rest of our lives together. Isn't that a cute fantasy for me at long last to hopefully manifest? Hope I'm not just still psychedelic dreaming and it actually lands one day. 2 little pigeons in 2 different times of the day looking at me with sweetness. It's a sign, people. It's a sign. 11:11 a.m. on 11th of March. What does it mean? Love from the supernal realms. I am on my right path, wherever that leads, onwards and upwards. Now that was all occurring on 2021, was it not? I think I said 2021. Let's scroll back. Doobie 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 Batman. Sorry, I have to play with things sometimes. Play with life sometimes. Yes, 11th of March 2021. It was a very spiritual day that year, and it's been today rather a spiritual day too. The weird thing that happened though was when I went to, sign in at reception at the Mater Hospital, was the receptionist was very affable and friendly and called me darling and sweetheart. But while questioning me for their forms for the hospital, it got a little bit weird because there was a Pacific Islander couple of women sitting in the waiting room, and they could hear because it was a big open plan reception area. And the receptionist asked me, I found it a bit odd given how clearly white I am. She asked, my name and asked my middle name and how to spell it. I had to spell it twice. But Jesus, it's not that hard to spell Desiree. But anyway, I repeated it. And then she asked me how long I'd lived in Australia for, which I thought was odd. She asked me, my country of birth, which I told her. And then she asked me if I was of Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander descent, which is, they ask everyone that. And that's totally fine. And so I looked at her and I said, no, And then she looks me in the eyes again and asks me if I'm of South Sea Islander descent. And at this point I got annoyed because it's just ridiculous. It became ridiculous. So I stared at her and I said, very diplomatically but also assertively, I said, no, I am not. I said, unfortunately, I am what is classified, I said, as a full-blooded Caucasian. And she just kind of smirked at me, and then I cast a little bit of a look at the Pacific Islander girls because I'm thinking, why would she even ask someone who's blatantly so freaking white whether I'm Islander? Don't get me wrong, I'm not racist. I actually said, unfortunately, to press the point that there's nothing wrong with being Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander or Pacific Islander. It was the way she said South Sea Islander I found particularly offensive because I think the correct term is Pacific Islander. And so it was very odd that she was driving that home. So I said, no, unfortunately, I'm what's classified as a full-blooded Caucasian, meaning, it wouldn't bother me at all if I did have Indigenous blood in me, especially since I'm a shaman and many of the spirits I work with are indeed Indigenous, including my Maori's cousins, ancestors. So it was very odd. And I looked at this woman, I asked her, I said, are you Russian background? She said, no, English and Irish. She said, but my co-worker's Russian descent. I said, oh, okay. I said, that's interesting. I said, so you're Caucasian too? And I kind of went, that's my equivalent of shoving it right up her. And not quite literally, people, but, you know, you get the vibe. Anyway, I had a little wink at the Pacific Islander girls, and they were like giggling because they knew that was my little way of getting revenge, right? But what a strange line of questioning. Even wanting to know how long I'd lived in Australia for. And so truthfully, I said I've lived in Australia longer than I ever lived in my birth country, since I went to school in Melbourne for 3 years as a child. So, but it was odd. I found it really quite peculiar and odd. So anyway, I continue reading, but I just wanted to mention that because whenever I go to a medical clinic or hospital situation, the reception staff grill me down. Sometimes they're actually quite offensive to me, or in that case it wasn't so much offensive but odd. And they just act like, quite frankly, Nazis, questioning someone's race or culture, grinding down on you. You're just there to fucking sign in so you can go and see your specialist appointment, right? You're not there to be grilled as to what colour your skin is and what country you come from and what your ancestors are and what race you are. And for the love of all the gods, it was getting a bit weird. Oh, she asked me my religion too. I said Jewish. And she looked at me funny because I don't particularly look Jewish. I cop that a lot, even in my own Jewish community. So I'm just smiling at her sweetly. I thought, if you ask me and say you don't look Jewish, I probably will consider punching you in the face. Not that I'd do it, but it would cross my mind, right? She could see me waiting for it. And she didn't make any comment, which was wise. I think she could see I was getting a bit annoyed. But honestly, this freaking statistics and census taking every time you go to see a medical establishment now is getting a bit freaking weird, inappropriate, and fascist, quite frankly. But this is the government we operate under now, isn't it? So it's just, it was a bit triggering. It was a bit triggering. But anyway, I didn't have to wait too long to see the nurse practitioner, and she was actually lovely to me. And she's booked me in for that test to be had. So we're on the way. We're on the way to happiness and loveliness. However that song goes. We're on the way to something. I'm probably on the highway to heaven or hell, but so, no, what else is new? I'll be dancing my dance for as long as I can until the day comes that the dance is over, babies. And then I'll be bending over and kissing my own ass goodbye. But either way, in the meantime, I will be keeping a record of all of this, not just for YouTube, but for my own vocal media and Facebook, and continuing to speak, dance, write, breathe, and exist in my own truth, because it's vitally important that we keep our truth no matter what, no matter how weird it is, no matter how fraught it gets. Hold your line, people. Right, we're up to 11th of March. I'm not allowed anything more to drink after 7 p.m. and I'm so thirsty, my throat's closed up. Dear Goddess. Anyway, I had quite a bit to drink today, so I'll just have to handle it. Otherwise, the peeing will happen all night long, but it'll happen anyway. So really, what the hell? But anyway, we carry on. 11th of March 2018. Thank you, God, the angels. Karen and Jenny and Morris. Out of those three, only Morris has remained a friend to me. For another wild, joyous, crazy night. I am so lucky to have you in my life. I had a lovely long chat with Nigel this evening also. Thanks to Louise, who had a chat with me during the week also. I'm very blessed with beautiful friends in my life. My gorgeous cousins. Melvin messaged me tonight also. And my daughter, whom I shall see on Monday with Jared, who is currently now estranged to me. So, that's nice. 11th of March 2017. I'm having a postmodern, post-epic zombie dancing in the night, post-menopausal, post-haste, postulant, post-love addiction gone wrong, as is my usual default state, sounds like Gavolt state, Gavolt state. Let's read that again. As is my usual default state. Breakdown. Oh, dear goddess. I'm writing love texts from the edge to a giant vacuous pit that thrives on my torment. Here's looking at you, Dave. Ridiculous, absurd. Yet it reveals to me the great work I still have to complete on my ever-broken heart. So, until I complete that great work, my true love partner can never manifest in my life, because I need to heal from that monster and all the other monsters I invited quite willingly into my inner sanctum sanctorum. So, but back in 2017, I was still trying to achieve the impossible, which was to get love from a man incapable of loving me, which I know was rather unhealthy and sick of me, to be fair. But it takes two to tango, and he was spinning me for quite a long time too. So, hello. Take responsibility for your own actions, people. It is a gift that could only be wrought by the unrequited, the unlovable, and unlovely. For that I am grateful. The man who broke me into a million pieces must watch me reunite myself, reinvigorate myself, bloom. Fuck you, Daddy. Bear in mind, my father had not long died before I wrote this, only days prior. Ha 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 ha. I can't fake laughter anymore. I can't do it, but I obviously thought it was funny at the time. It is kind of funny when you look at the big picture, the damage my father wrought to my life, even repeating the pattern of getting involved in love affairs with men called Dave or David, who were equally cruel and sadistic and monstrous as he was. Equally. They can share that equally between them. When I die, they can have a big fucking party up in the whatever realm they go to. The three Davids, right? They belong together. Monsters they were. Do you know whom I could have been if I had been loved in a genuine way just once in my childhood? And here I refer to the males in my family, right? Because I was loved by my neighbour down the road, who was a beautiful soul. I did have love from proxy mothers. But the men in my life, not one of them was I safe with. Not one. But the time to blame my parents has passed. I have to shape up or ship out or discombobulate my soul in 1,000 paradigmical universes, in 1,000 worlds of the Tanya, clawing back my true love, sanity, sanctity, and prosperity in a reverse-engineered mirage on a broken mirrored disco ball. Catch myself, if I can, before I fall into oblivion. I am suffused, infused, and confused with a deep, abiding, great love that burns my heart and mind and soul like a smoking tattoo gun in infinite, tiny refractions to create a picture so complex and so beautiful that it can only be seen by the Holy One in its entirety. He hates me, the Holy One, or he could not let me become this giant fool of a wise woman in development. This lost cause, this writhing, passionate, zombie woman child, this greatness thrust upon me and seeded to the 7th echelon of hell and paradise, stuck in the middle with you. Perhaps he loves me too, infinite potential seeping through my hair and hands and feet, mind to mind, time and space perpetuating perfect alignment, a magic so profound and so humbling, my body weakly resonating the largeness of you. You, capital Y-O-U, meaning God. No accidents in the universe. All is a gift of the divine, a cosmic joke or a cosmic yoke, but bespoken in a language that is only love, life streaming, seeking, being. Excuse me while I have a little scream now, streaming, flying free and furious, foisted on fate's fancies, but fated by those who know, capital K-N-O-W. My God and Goddess, I love you. "3:19 a.m. Home from an awesome night out with my beautiful friend Jenny, when she was being a beautiful friend. Ramjet played and were fantastic. I am now in a hot bath. On the way home from dropping Jenny off, I almost ran into a fox with a hare or possum in its mouth. It ran into Whites Hill Reserve behind me. I took that as kind of a spirit message too, because you don't very often see foxes around here. I mean, they're around, because I try and take my chickens, but very rarely do you actually sight them. When I got home, I ran to check on my chickens. Everyone's safe, thank God. It was a beautiful fox, not russet, but shades of brown. I have to burp again, excuse me. I don't know what's wrong with me, goodness. Thank you, Jenny. You are my sister of dance, passion, and light. I loved how you connected to me when we danced to Zombie. I felt our souls merge in the streaming consciousness. It was beautiful. Thank you to all my beautiful friends who see me and love me and who have blessed me in so many ways. Some material, 27 computers since 1995. I think we're up to 31. This computer I'm using is 31 computers now. Clothing, meals, drinks. Some spiritual love, so much love, acceptance, sage advice, picking me up when I fell, even by my hair, and throwing me back into the fray. Lending me money to survive another day, or move house to keep me and my children safe. Working for me in the background when I was under yet another attack from evil entities, seen and unseen, until I questioned my own mind and raison d'etre. Forgiving me when I too fell into suspicion, paranoia, fear, fury, and hugging me when I cried. Sharing my laughter and my few profound joys, defending my spirit and my body and my right to take up some space on this planet. Ennobling me and giving me the tools to fight, to love, to create, and to dance, and to be. There are times when I know I have been a burden, burnt some of you out. Sometimes you could not understand my plight. Sometimes we took a few extended mental health breaks from each other. Some of my beloveds left my life forever. Some have never left me. I love you and thank you for all the great gifts of yourselves you have brought to my life. I could not be here without you. Blessed be from here to eternity and back again. 11th of March 2016. Just wondered what was happening there with my wolf. Oh, he's all right. My little wolf bead, I love it. My Viking wolf. Those bitches at the C.G. Jung Centre would have said, why do you wear a wolf in your hair? What does that mean? It means I'm Viking and I'm in my own power, and my power is still delightful. Of the light, people, always of the light, even in my occasional rage. 11th of March 2016, 11:32 p.m. Going to bed early, so hoping that I will be strong enough to attend Mojo Burning tomorrow. I guess I will go for a few hours and try to pace myself. I'm looking forward to the usual wildness. Used to really enjoy that on the few occasions I managed to get to go to it. Just got to talk to Crystal on Skype. She is now living in Croydon, loving London. Oh well, now she's estranged to me. There's nothing keeping her here. She might as well go back there. It's probably part of her evil plan, actually. Abandon the mama before she fucks off permanently to live in Europe or England or the UK, right? Mum is well aware of these games that people will play. I'm not an idiot. I know exactly what's going on there. Either that or she's actually too cowardly to confront the fact that I might actually be dying and she might have to step up and take responsibility and support me in the dying process. No, instead she heads for the hills. Oh well, now I know that if I do get a terminal diagnosis at some stage in the future, who I can rely on to be there for me. Not my own bloodlines, that's for sure. I actually had a little tear started to manifest out of my eye when I was telling the nurse practitioner this today. It hits me hard sometimes how badly I've been treated by my own blood. But never mind, life goes on, people of Earth. I am Viking, I am powerful, I am loving, I am delightful. And I will have a beautiful life if the gods allow me longer continuance. And I've been shown that in recent months. The sweetness and kindness of people, not of my blood, who have no agendas and owe me nothing actually, have shown me more sweetness and kindness in recent months than my own daughter has when I was laying low, feeling very vulnerable and fragile last September indeed, especially since I had just recently lost my beautiful Beauregard as well. They like to kick me when I'm down, my bloodlines. They're actually evil and sadistic to do that. But look out when I rise back in my full vibrancy and power after my bladder gets settled down. I may be able to yet achieve even greater and more astonishing things than I ever imagined before. And I'll be leaving them behind in my own dust. And no regrets, babies. I hope I manifest a beautiful life with my truly loving friends, the few friends that have stayed with me for 30, almost 36 and 32 years respectively, and my other beautiful friends, and my new friends and acquaintances. And together we will thrive if the gods allow it, that I may be surrounded by a community of people who genuinely care about me as a human being and want to see me at long last win and thrive and enjoy the remains of my days here on planet Earth, hopefully with a truly loving, devoted partner as well. Let's ask for all of it while we're asking. Tomorrow I have to park my car up for 2 months until my next advance. Jesus, 2016. Pity I can't sell the large road, but taking buses for a few months won't kill me. Poverty stinks, stresses and fucks my vibe. It has been an intimate companion since I left my awful marriage 21 years ago. 29 years ago now. Mind you, all my housekeeping money went on fees for Sinai College to educate my 2 daughters, who now couldn't give a flying fuck about me, by the way. So that was a waste of good money. I could have gone to Israel and Europe myself and enjoyed life instead of educating my children privately. What I have been robbed of, it's enough to make your hair curl. My ex financially abused me back then. 11 years of not having money, but appearing to be rich. Ironic. Then I went into a steep decline after he screwed me out of my house and business and then property settlement. I got $5,000 plus my little Mazda 121, which was a company car, and I had to fight to keep it, then struggle to pay its rego and insurance and services for the next 18 years. Then to top it off, I had to go bankrupt for $9,000 when he refused to pay child support. He really was a sadist, and so was my mother, by the way. My mother was wealthy, but coerced me to go bankrupt with her con-man husband. Decades later, I found I could not get power of attorney due to being a former bankrupt. That bastard Buck Shearer had planned it all along. I was so stressed and traumatized that I gave in to their pressure and went bankrupt to free myself of harassment from credit companies. Optus refused to accept my bankruptcy and let me keep my phone and account and let me clear my debt, which was only for about something like $350 at the time. I am always grateful for their support and compassion in my darkest times, which is why I've remained a customer with them all the years, even though in the last 10 or 20 years their service became less accommodating and a bit more sadistic over especially the last 10 years. But back then they were extremely good to me, and I acknowledge that to this day. So having a car from my one and only inheritance is a luxury I can't really afford. But after years of abuse and more evil bullshit than you can throw a stick at, I need my freedom of movement. My friend, and I won't name her, it's named here in Vocal Media, but you don't need, she likes to be anonymous, so I won't name her here on YouTube. But one of my friends was so marvellously generous to me last year. She paid for my full year of rego. That gave me a year of driving without stress. Thank you. This year I will stand on my own 2 feet and wait a few months. I have done this many times before. I do not ask for money, but I am grateful for the help I received over the years at various times, like my friend last year, and years ago another woman friend from my Jewish community who lent me rego money after my mother and husband set me up and lured me to Mum's house with the promise of giving me the rego money so I could keep driving my kids to Sinai College. But when I arrived, my mother started screaming at me in the street that all I ever wanted was money, a terrible lie, as I had been financially stable prior to the separation. I had my own business, and I certainly didn't ever ask my mother for money. I had no need to. I didn't have a lot of money, but I had my own business. I paid up freehold house and my own little bit of income, which my housekeeping of $150 went into Sinai College to pay for their school fees. So it was evil what my mother did, trying to set me up, make some fracas for the neighbours' benefit. Like, her neighbours were all convinced that I bled my mother dry and that I was an awful daughter. It was all lies. But how do you prove otherwise when people want to believe the worst of you and don't believe you when you tell the truth? You can't. It's a fool's game. You just have to let people think what they want to think and stand in your own honour and integrity and power and delightfulness. She screamed that I had arrived too late to go to the bank, which was completely insane, as I arrived straight after taking the kids to school by 9:30 a.m, so this made no sense. She screamed and ranted at me. I cried and yelled back, "Why are you doing this to me?" Her neighbours from several houses came out to stare. They believed her lies, that I was a wicked, grasping daughter. They were really malevolent, all her neighbours. It was disgusting how I was treated. Absolutely disgusting. Even viciously interfering when the public trustee gave me permission to empty my mother's house and keep all the chattels, right? They even shortened that process with their viciousness. Well, I hope they all rot in hell, all those people in that street, Jellicoe Street. They were all fucking monsters under her spell, literally. I got in the car and drove home to my rented unit and broke down again. This was a few months after I had been attacked and strangled, but my mother and former husband, both, upon seeing my welts around my throat, the vivid bruising and my swollen glands, declared that they wished they had beaten me years ago and more often. I threw Gisela out of my house, my marital home, I mean by that, in Birkdale. Had a very nice home. It meant nothing to me in the end. I just walked away from it like other people's fecal matter. That's how much viciousness and unhappiness I experienced in that marriage with my own mother and my own ex-husband. So, fuck them both. One's dead now and one's very much alive, but fuck them both. She feigned making peace with me, only to further humiliate me over needing money for the rego to get my girls to school. At that point, my ex-husband was still running our business into the ground, and he could easily have afforded to pay the rego to get the kids to school, but he refused. And Mum refused after setting me up with that little display for her neighbour's benefit. Sick is what they were, evil and sick. As serendipity can happen, a woman from Shaw rang me during my distress when I got home, which was very odd, the timing of that. She in turn rang, and I won't say this woman's name, former friend from my Jewish community, a former wealthy friend. And that woman met me at the school car park with the loan of the rego money. And it was a loan. I paid her back. She asked me not to tell her husband. I gave her back the money as soon as I got the next advance, which would have been my Centrelink advance, which you get every 6 months. 3 months later. So women and a few good men have been helping me survive financially for over 21 years, and we can say over 29 years now. So I am grateful. I will wait for the advance. All good. Because after a while it just becomes so degrading and humiliating and demoralizing to have to consistently and regularly ask for financial assistance from your friends. And although they would willingly give it to me and help me out each time, I would just go through phases where I would just think, well, I just have to survive on my own. It's just too demoralizing. And then there would be other phases when I'd think, well, I can't keep struggling like this, so I'm going to have to ask for help. So, and it would all, I suppose, depend on where I was with my mental health in that time, if I wanted to suffer like an animal and stand on my own dignity, or whether I wanted to swallow my pride and literally put the cap out and beg for assistance. But as I say, I've had a great deal of help throughout my life, and without those beautiful and handsome and brave and determined earth angels I would not have survived this far. Trust me on that one. So, to you all, you know who you are and how special and wonderful you have been to me, and how blessed I am to have you in my life, and how grateful I am. And as always, may the gods bless you for your kindnesses and generosity and gifts of not just physical help, but spiritual, emotional, mental, at times physical assistance when I was laid very, very low indeed. Resting this arvo, I had a bad coughing fit, brought phlegm up off my chest and sinus, coughed so hard I now have a headache. I picked up Annette from her procedure at the RBH. Both of us girls need to rest. This was back in 2016, right? Finally sitting down, lathered in sweat after vacuuming my filthy kitchen floor. I intended to mop after but got sidetracked as I left the water running in the sink, so flooded all around the sink and bottom cupboards and half the kitchen floor. Lucky the water did not reach the vacuum cord. Oh well, less floor to mop. I will still have to mop it thoroughly later. I have had to clean out my flooded kitchen cupboards, empty out bowls, pots and pans. What an epic task. I just want to lie down to die, but at least the kitchen floor is halfway clean, lol. I have almost reached a point in life where I will need a carer. If I'm not leaving the gas on, I'm flooding the kitchen. Ridiculous. I'm so annoyed with myself. Now bear in mind, on the 11th of March 2016, up until early June 2016, I was still under the influence of very, very hefty psych meds, which meant that I wasn't always thinking clearly, so mistakes like that would happen fairly frequently. And even then, even when I went off all my psych meds, there were still times when I occasionally still do flood the kitchen, but fortunately that happens. It's more of a rare event now, thank goodness. I'm managing life and I no longer feel that I need a carer, but I do get support with the lawn mowing, and a cleaning lady comes once a week just to help with the floors and clean the bathroom, just to take a bit of pressure off me so I can, have the basics kept clean at least. 11th of March 2015, 6:03 p.m. I got woken at 5 p.m. by the neighbourhood children reclaiming their soccer ball on one side. Then when I went out to bring in the washing, the sweet little ones from across the road came over with their young father to visit the kitten and look at the chooks. We had a nice chat and I joked about being smelly. I was still in my dressing gown with my hair doing the Medusa dance off my head, all greasy and crazy looking. I swear no one ever bothers with me when I am well groomed and coiffed to perfection, which is why I like to put up selfies of me after I'm back from the hairdresser to prove I scrub up just fine occasionally. So here I sit, freshly showered, wrapped in a towel, watching the afternoon fade with the sleeping sun, Facebooking. The dog ain't coming, its owners changed their minds. Annoying and disappointing. Oh well, shit happens. I will wait for the right dog at the right time. The little kids were clairvoyant, as children often are. The 5-year-old asked me where the dog was. They had no way of knowing that I was expecting to get a dog today. Then she said randomly, Do you have a dad? This blew my mind, as only yesterday Jared found out that my estranged father has been house-sitting on a farm in Stanthorpe and was looking after 3 racehorses. I said, everyone has a dad. Mine ran away. She said, don't you like him? I said, no, not anymore, but I loved him like a god when I was your age. Their father said to them, and this was very sweet and heartfelt, their father said to them, I will never run away. I said, no, your daddy is a good daddy. He will never leave you or harm you. The children smiled happily. Lucky children. How I wish I had been blessed with such luck and a genuinely loving family of origin. The more they abused me, the more I loved them. Now it's over. I am done. It was rather odd that for the past few months I have been craving to go horse riding and wishing I had a horse like when I was a teenager. It seems the old man has been sending out vibes. Our family was sick, but all the same, very telepathic and psychic. To think what good they could have done with their abilities instead of so much narcissism, sociopathology, and general evil. If they had merely chosen to be kind, respectful, and protective. Money was their god, status, and having a man at any price, even the safety of their children. Motherfuckers. Yet here I am, left with so few memories of those people, a survivor, hoping to thrive, staying alive. Now, I wrote that in 2015, so here we are. What is that now? 9 years later. I've done well to survive those monsters. I really have done quite well, astonishingly well. But then again, as I said before, I could not have done it without the assistance of earth angels and people who loved me in honouring, kind ways and noble ways, and at times courageously too, because I can be tetchy and prickly and mistrusting and avoidant and sometimes fucking angry as hell. So I'm not always easy to love people, but it is what it is. It's what's left after a life of complex trauma. I continue reading. 6:20 a.m. Been outside, sun gazing. I managed not to melt. I feel lovely. Still need to schluff though. Schluff means sleep. 5:13 a.m. Laila tov, boker tov. Good night, good morning. I must sleep before I meet the new man in my life. I don't know his name yet, but I bet he gives me a big, wet, sloppy kiss and looks deep into my soul with his big, brown eyes. A Maltese Terrier. I can't seem to manifest a human male life partner. My love life has long ago gone to the dogs. At least dogs are loyal. Their love is always true and always loyal, right to the end. Just ask Beauregard, he'll tell you. And Miss Bella Rosa, and Sugar, and Lila, and little Jeffy. They'll tell you their love was always real. Even if sometimes they did drag their asses on the ground, but there is that. I did ask for a real love though, and dog and cat love is as real as I will ever get, laughing my ass off. And of course, Charlie's love too. I think birds love you even more than dogs and cats, if that's possible. So I have been loved, often by non-human entities, and the spirits and the gods too. 11th of March 2014, 12:38 a.m. Penny is lying beside me on the couch, snoring contentedly but loudly with a very fat stomach. She is currently eating a 1.5 tins a day. That's a lot of food for a pussycat. Today I bought a week's supply of cat food with the last of my money. I'll have to ration her a bit as I don't get paid until Tuesday the 18th of March. Lol. Which was, what, a week away? Jesus. Story of my life. She is worth every bit of it though. Such an awesome friend. For my late night dinner, I cooked up some sausages. They weren't great, but they satisfied me also. We're doing well, Miss Penny and I. Slowly but surely, we are getting by, with heaps of help from our friends and my beautiful daughter. Life is good. Back when I had a beautiful daughter. Anyway, she'll probably resurface one day, but I don't think I can ever feel the same about her. She really was horrific to me last year on several occasions, with her last play not wanting me to come to the actual season, and then kicking me when I was down after Beauregard died. So she's not someone I currently want in my life, and I don't know when I will want her ever in my life again, quite frankly. I think she finally killed my heart completely as a mother, and this heart is very difficult to kill. Very difficult indeed. 11th of March 2013, 11:32 p.m. Baking a Dutch almond cake from a stolen recipe from a childhood friend's mother who refused to share the recipe. So he stole the recipe and gave it to me, right? Which is kind of interesting because this morning as we began the readings at the beginning of video part 1, I dreamt of friends of that particular family. They were friends of Susie and Tom van der Kwast. So there we are, full circle, coming up in my subconsciousness, the connection to that family. So that's a bit interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, I continue on. The sweet taste of revenge. Only if the cake turns out good. Sometimes I think she sabotaged that recipe, knowing one of her sprogs would steal it and give it to me. I had to throw the recipe out in a way in the end, because every time I made it, it didn't come out quite right. It would either be, it wasn't quite right. I think it was a sabotage recipe. But anyway, the thought was there. Philip wanted me to have that lovely cake, which I had constantly asked his mother when she was alive, would you please give me the recipe for that wonderful Dutch almond cake? And she would always sneer at me and say it was a secret, right? And it was just ridiculous because back in the day, it was all right when she was cooking it for Susie's Coffee Lounge, and then it was fair enough to keep it a secret recipe because it was a special cake they were serving up in the coffee shop. But this was decades after she no longer worked in that coffee shop. She could have easily given me the correct recipe. It was just spiteful. I found it petty and spiteful. So it was really heartfelt when his son Philip said, "Oh, here's the recipe from that cake you like, Tanya." And then I could never get the bloody thing to turn out properly. So I'm a bit upset about that to this day because I loved that cake. It was delicious. But oh well. Oh well. Now I still dream of family friends from that little circle. It's a bit bizarre. Yesterday, only 4 hours sleep. Today, just under 8 hours. Still in bed, feeling weary but relaxed. I'm getting my hair done today. I was woken very early by a pesky fly, which now I'm fully awake has mysteriously left me alone. I need to buy fly spray. Oh, pardon me, sorry. I need to buy fly spray for tonight so I can have a decent sleep. As you can see, I'm waiting to get my hair redone. It's due on the 19th. I look bloody awful, but it is what it is. Only another 8 days to go, people, and I get my hair done again. I'll look pretty again. Well, my hair will look pretty again. The rest of me is like negligible, but oh well. It's why I like to at least have my hair done nice so I can pretend that I'm beautiful and feel good about myself. 11th of March 2012. That's what was so bizarre when I was standing at the queue on Friday night for the Brooklyn Standard, and that beautiful young woman turned to me, "You look beautiful." But I guess I had full makeup on and she hadn't looked at all my dark roots, and I was all dressed nice. And, you know, people can be actually sweet and loving and kind. 11th of March 2012. I had a nice weekend in spite of being let down again by my Gladstone prospective partner, that dead shit, who is now removed off my pal list, meaning pal talk list, as an unreliable, teasing asshole. One of my irons in my quest for a relationship fire, who has just poked himself in his own eye, which is sad, because I had high hopes for him. Now I just have to raise my hopes for me to get through all the hurt and disappointments. I got some interesting attention from a guy on the weekend who seems keen as he tweaked my nipple, laughing my ass off. Old, younger Tanya would have punched him right in the face, but now I see the humour in my lack of finding a man who is respectful, genuine, and loving towards me. It's never going to happen, as it's never happened before. So, tweak my nipple, or stand me up, or go underground. My unsuitable suitors from all walks of life can go and get fucked. I own my nipples, and if I need any tweaking, that will be for me, laughing my ass off. Bon Jovi tribute band at Greenbank RSL was awesome last night. I danced to all their songs, and a timely reminder to honour the fact that it's my life and it's now or never, 'cause I'm not going to live forever. I used to sing that to my evil, toxic mother, and it used to drive her nuts. Ha ha ha. Mavis and Mervyn visited and brought Miss Bella Rosa heaps of doggy goodies and essentials and home-cooked dinners. We all had a lovely afternoon together, and Gail visited too. It was nice to catch up again. It was very kind of Mavis and Mervyn. You know, they were friends from my previous temple back in, what was it called back in those days? It changed its name constantly. I think in those days it was called Beit Knesset, but anyway, I can't keep up with it all. 11th of March 2011. I had my hair done yesterday. I feel fabulous. Life is good. Time to go to bed so I can enjoy more of my life tomorrow. Quote of today, a classic to little Ali, who was my friend Lynn Sloane's granddaughter. Age 3. Wow, Ali, you're the luckiest little girl in the world. You have everything you ever wanted. A pause, then, are you happy? That was me talking to little Ali, right? A very serious frown and the sardonic response as only a child can. No! Lynn and I almost died laughing. There you have it, out of the mouths of babes. Gorgeous child, already a philosopher. And she is indeed a gorgeous child, but she's, I think she's 16 now. Time's flown. Is she 15 or 16? Maybe she's only 15. Anyway, she's a teenager now. Murky, muggy, hot day to match my sludgy mood. Had blood tests today. Hopefully all will be clear. We'll need to find a new GP to get my results. Not going back to that bastard doctor. He was so good to my ex-boyfriend when I took him to see him a year ago. I think he must hate women, because his treatment of me was so shabby. That's that one here in Greenslopes, the peg. Anyway, I did indeed change doctors. Oh well, doctor shopping again, and sifting through the crap takes so much energy and time. There must be a storm coming in the next hour or two. I'm feeling very fractious. If I had money, I'd be driving all over Brisbane, feeling wild and free. Storm behaviour, lol. I can feel the barometric pressure in my solar plexus. Isn't middle age wonderful? I've become a weather witch, thanks to my achy bones and heart, lol. Japan earthquake and tsunami. I'm very worried about my elderly friends in Tokyo. The phone line is interrupted. I hope and pray they and all their community around them are safe and well. It is horrific watching the devastation from the quake and the tsunami live on TV. I always thought the Mayan calendar prophecies about the end of the world were wrong or misguided. Now, after our floods, quakes, and tsunamis on the Pacific Rim, pardon me, I am not so sure. We need to hold each other up in these trying times. Tsunami warning in 7 hours for the north coast of New Zealand, Auckland, Te Reinga region. 11th of March 2010. We all gave Gisela, my mother, the best goodbye yesterday, and even today I'm still feeling very peaceful and happy for her, that her spirit is at rest, and I know the love we shared will be eternal. You really can't ask for more than that. This was before the will came out and I saw the vicious, salacious lies and just the sickness permeating from those pages. And I regretted all the kindnesses I had shown to my mother in the previous 18 months and the beautiful funeral I gifted her, by the way. I regretted my entire relationship with that woman. She was nothing more than a monster, and proved it over and over again for another 2.5 years with that will dispute. So, but never mind. As I said, I had loved my own monsters to the point of my own almost death too many times, which is why I do not compromise and I do not forgive and I do not invite willingly more monsters into my world. I've had more than enough for several incarnations, people. I wish to express my gratitude to all my friends who were able to attend either or both Mum's funeral today and her minion tonight. Yes, my non-Jewish German mother had a minion for my sake because I'm Jewish. So it was very kind that members of my community came to support me in that. So thank you for that, by the way. And as I said in yesterday's videos, it's quite possible that my mother had Jewish ancestry too, although I can't prove it. So that's not the reason why we had a minion. It was more for my benefit than for hers. I really appreciate the gifts of love, emotional support, kindness, and the sharing of food for the wake. You all helped to make Mum's departure a joyous and truly spiritual occasion. God bless you all. And thus concludes today's readings and my commentary on my readings of even date. I thank you for listening and viewing and bearing witness to my truth and my experiences and my journaling and my processing, and I hope you gain some wisdom or encouragement or strength from it, and maybe in some small way it might assist those of you who have gone through or are still going through similar difficulties with narcissistic parents and or narcissistic psychopathic love partners. It's painful and poignant, but it's important work to show that with good people and with mana and with heartfelt intentions and quite a bit of stoicism and determination, you, me, we can get through anything, up to and including the last 4 years of the COVID epoch and whatever gets thrown at us in the future. Find your vibe, find your tribe, surround yourself with people who are kind and honouring and loving, and who don't fall so easily to the narratives fed to us, and have the power and the strength to say no when no is the only appropriate answer, and to protect those of us who also had the power and the strength to say no, and honour when it is appropriate to say yes to true heartfelt honouring love and kindness and sweetness, and protection and healing, and say no to things that are dangerous and life-threatening, and may we be blessed with the wisdom and the sanguine gnosis gifted by the gods, with the power of discernment, so we know which way to fall or which way to rise up in our own bodies, minds and spirits at any given time, under any circumstances presented to us here on planet Earth. So on that note, I bid you good night. It's now 8:55 p.m. I'm very, very tired, as you can probably see by how pale and wrung out I am. But this is my gift to you, my journaling and my experiences and my attitudes and my epiphanies and my heartfelt intentions, sometimes my little bit of mischief and occasional flights of paranoia at times, because, well, that too is not completely unreasonable given my life histories. So, yes, thank you to my truly loving ones who see me as I am and love and honour me anyway, as a person, as a woman, as a spirit, as a Jew, as a witch, and as a shaman, and as ever as a psychedelic dreamer, and also my little inner child, Miss Five, who perhaps is the most powerful and fierce and determined of all those alter egos. Yes, I have my own alter egos, because that little girl is the reason why I am here presenting to you today in my own delightfulness. So it is indeed powerful, it is indeed beautiful, and I am indeed grateful. So bye for now, take good care, rest well, enjoy your evening, morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are on the space-time continuum, and I'll be back no doubt tomorrow with another journal entry. So God's bless, love and light to you all. Take good care. Bye for now from Sacred Space.